My name is Brenda Valdez. I am undergraduate student at the University of Texas at San Antonio. I'm here representing the McNair program at UTSA and also the MALI project. The MALI project is in mathematics and language literacy integration in dual language settings. I'm gonna start off with a topic that opened the interest and opened the conversation with my PI about doing this study, and that's my problem statement. We wanted to look at, we were both concerned actually about the underrepresentation and underachievement of students for marginalized communities or minority populations in STEM and science, technology, engineering, mathematics disciplines. We wanted to look at this problem with a social-cultural lens. We want to see what in the social and cultural arenas affect education and this problem, which is the underachievement and underrepresentation in STEM subjects. But most specifically, we wanted to look at English learners, how these English learners get introduced to English. So the purpose of this paper is the practice and use of second languages in pedagogy and elementary education, more specifically the use of translanguaging. And I would like first to give you guys the definitions of translanguaging. Translanguaging is a term that has been used lately in literature a lot and research. So translanguaging is the way multilinguals make sense of their world. And I want to elaborate in this with an example. If you think about this word, tamales, that's a traditional dish, and you know the definition, not just the translation, but you picture a group of women cooking in the kitchen, and you remember holidays, and you remember maybe talking by the table, that's semantic knowledge that you have attached to the word. So you just not just know that it's a traditional dish, but also you have attached some semantic knowledge to it. So that is translanguaging. You make sense of the world depending of that semantic knowledge that you have attached to concepts. In this case, the tamales. And I would like to ask you guys, do we have any multilingual, bilingual people in the room? Thank you. Does anybody identify with the example that I use, that maybe you're not fully fluent, but you have some knowledge and some semantic knowledge attached to the concepts? Thank you. So all of you guys can translanguage as well, not just fully bilingual people. We're removing the attention from language and we're just thinking about the speaker, which is the main character of our study. So the big advocate for translanguaging is Professor Ofelia Garcia, and I'm gonna be quoting her. She said that translanguaging refers to using one's full linguistic repertoire, using whatever you have in your brain to communicate with others. She said that the main character is not the code, which in this case will be the language. The main character is the speaker. Translanguaging has many benefits, and I have two of them here. It facilitates learning and also facilitates cultural identity. And like I mentioned, everyone that is being exposed to a different language at home, maybe your parents speak other language, but you don't, but if you're exposed to that social and cultural aspect of language, you're gonna be using translanguaging for sure. Just to give you guys a little bit of introduction about bilingualism, 1 for every 5 individuals in the United States speak other language than English at home. That one is a total of 67.8 million people. That's a lot of people in the United States. Out of those 67.8, 12.8 are minors. The 5 most spoken language other than English are Spanish with 61.6%, Chinese, Tagalog, Vietnamese, and Arabic. Looking at this amount of children, it's not strange to see English learning immersion programs implemented in mainstream education. We have 2 different programs, that the dual language program and the ESL, English as a second language. We're gonna concentrate in Texas, so we're gonna look at pedagogy in Texas. Bilingual or English learning immersion programs have been part of Texas since 1973, and the duration of the program is from pre-K to 3rd grade. Right now we have a 2-way program. That means that we have English learners and non-English learners in the same classroom. That means that even both kids, the ones that are not learning English and the ones that are learning English, are in the same classroom. And the goal of the program is for them both to be bilingual at the end of their program, which is by 3rd grade. We have 6 models in Texas. 4 are dual language and 2 are English as a second language. With this, I would like to show you guys my research questions for this study. The first one, when during a dual language math lesson, do bilingual teachers and students use translanguaging? How are children making use of their multilingualism to learn and make sense of academic context? To look at these questions, we use the theoretical framework of Soviet psychologist Lev Vygotsky. He's well known for his work in psychological development in children, more specifically in learning. He wanted to see what factors, just as I was saying at the beginning, what factors influence learning in children. He came up with pretty nice theories, so I just have 3 here. The first one is that learning is contextual, meaning that children learn depending on the environment they're placed in. The second is teachers as facilitators, meaning that teachers should guide the students through the learning process. And language as a former of thought. So I would like also to elaborate in this. Like right now, I'm using my language as a tool to communicate to you guys. You are listening to me, and you guys are using language to encode new information. That's how we form thought. So we use language as a tool for teaching, and you guys are using the language for learning. So therefore, he said that language is the main character when forming thoughts. Big advocate also for the theory of social cultural theory is psychologist Ronald Tarp. He was very concerned about students, more specifically those students that are facing economic, linguistic, and cultural challenges, such as English learners. He also believed that teachers should be facilitators, and we should be training teachers so they can help students in a better way. So he developed these 5 standards for effective pedagogy. The first one, joint productive activity, working on teams, language and literacy development, contextualization, connecting the students' cultural context to school, challenging activities, and instructional conversation. And it's like a small talk dialogue with the students. Another strategy was developed by Dr. Bravo. He also was concerned about underachievement of students of minorities, and he observed that once a student is identified as English learners, they don't get the same access to rigorous STEM education. He said that usually when students are identified as English learners, they don't get this access to this information, but also everything is concerned about teaching them English instead of teaching them what is the subject, what is the discipline related. And he thought that students can also learn English while learning academic language through the use of cognates. Cognates are similar words from different languages that are very similar in structure and meaning. So these words look the same and mean the same, that's basically it. He recognized that the vocabulary, every vocabulary in every language is broken down in 3 tiers. Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. The organization of the tiers is by the use of the words. So on the bottom of the tier, we have the most frequency words, like couch, door, mom, dad. Those, we use that every single day. And the second tier, we have high frequency, we use it, but we also use it in different contexts. For instance, the word table can be a piece of furniture, but also the table can be used in math. So that's the other context. And the third one is a low frequency. It's more like technical writing, more specific, more domain specific. So he realized that some cognates that look the same, they mean the same, are placed in different tiers depending on the language. I have this example here. The word terrestrial is in English, low frequency from tier 1. But the word terrestre is a very high frequency, it's in Spanish. He suggested that students, or teachers, can use these cognates to teach students academic language. And students can tap into these words to make sense of STEM discipline-related language. with that background, I would like to take you guys to my study. This is the method that I use. I did a case study investigation. The participants of this study are bilingual teacher candidates. These are students from a new university in Texas. The bilingual teacher candidates recorded themselves teaching a math activity with the students. These students were second grade students, by the way. And we transcribed the videos, and after transcribing the videos, we analyzed the data using thematic analysis. We follow the 6 steps for thematic analysis by Brown and Clark. The first one was get familiar with the data. We watched the videos and we transcribed the video, so we were very familiar with the data. We coded that data. The codes that we used for this part were within the context of those research questions. The third one is search for themes. 4.1, review codes, define and name the themes, and write a report. We have some pretty nice preliminary results. We got 3 themes. The first one is reciprocity. We have a lot of student engagement. The second one is recall, access to learn information. They were able to remember information that they learned from other classes. Also collaboration. There was a lot of students working in teams, and they were translanguaging. They were using different languages at the same time. So it was really good. Actually, these pictures are original from the videos that we collected and analyzed. So for the conclusion, I would like to look at those questions again. When, during a dual language math lesson, do bilingual teacher and students use translanguaging? And how are children making use of their multilingualism to learn and make sense of academic context? So students or teachers are using translanguaging, and the teacher is not telling them to stop or to use certain language. She's going with the flow. If the student is speaking Spanish, they're speaking Spanish, you know, they still be able to have conversation, collaborate in team, ask questions. They were very engaged in the class. They develop advanced language. They learn STEM material, and the students acquire new vocabulary. I observed during these classes that the teacher introduced new words, and at the end of the class, the students were using those new words. They were actually from tier 3, very domain specific.